I'm just a sensitive little SJW libtard snowflake.
Okay, bitch, you said it, not me.
So this is gonna be my first ever response video, right? Now granted, I'd never done this before, but then again, I've never really done YouTube before. I'm still very fresh out of the can, but I did feel like this needed to be talked about, considering just how dumb the person in this video sounded. Today we have Mr. Comic Drake in the hot seat, and you're probably wondering how this person got on my radar. Well, I had never heard of Comic Drake before, however one of his videos did end up in my recommended section, and it happened to be about Invincible, and at first I thought, okay, another guy that likes Invincible, cool. And he was talking about the controversy surrounding the Invincible show. Now if you've seen the show, then you probably know that he is most likely talking about this little tokenized lady right here. After all, my first video was made talking about Amber and how they completely fumbled the ball when it came to her character. And at first I thought Comic Drake was going to echo out some similar sentiments, maybe even bring up some points that I myself didn't think of, but boy was I wrong. Little did I know I walked straight into SJW territory, where your privilege is always in check and all pronouns matter. And as such, this guy had things to say in defense of the very controversial character of Amber, and even an added controversy that I, as well as many of you, probably didn't even know existed. Let's look at what Comic Drake had to say when talking about the Invincible controversy. So his video starts off with him gushing about the comic as well as the show. Nothing wrong with that. You know, he's probably been a big time fan, probably wanted to see an adaptation for a while, so fine, whatever. But then he goes on to talk about how the controversy is being directed towards Amber, rightfully so, but then he also mentions that Debbie, Mark's mom, is also controversial when it comes to the show. And I don't know much of anybody who was bitching about Debbie when it came to the Invincible TV show. I mean, sure, she's been tokenized to be an Asian woman instead of an American woman in the show, but beyond that, there's really not a lot to talk about when it comes to Debbie's character from a controversial standpoint. But we'll go back to what he has to say about her later. Right now, let's focus on the Amber portion of his video.
When Mark revealed his identity as Invincible, Amber instantly forgave him, despite him being a really shitty boyfriend. Maybe it's just me, but I think that they reworked Amber as a much more compelling character all around. And frankly, I think that her new attitude leads to much more interesting conflict and character dynamics.
Yes, of course Amber in the comic book forgave him, you twit, because that is a natural reaction you would have to finding out that your boyfriend is a superhero. What a lot of people seem to be failing to realize here is that Amber in the comics only had her perception of the truth up until learning that Mark was invincible. Like before, she thought he was just out dealing drugs or something, but when she found out that Mark was actually invincible, she was very understanding to what was going on, that Mark has larger than life responsibilities that she simply didn't know about. But once she did, everything made sense and her and Mark were able to move on better with their relationship. And it seemed like they were going a similar route with Show Amber, where she only had her perception of the truth. But come to find out, she actually had the whole truth and kept it to herself, not out of respect for Mark or his secret or anything like that, but because she felt that Mark owed it to her to tell her that secret, which just makes Amber look selfish, like they've only been dating for 5 months, not years, months. So you'll have to forgive me if I can understand why Mark wouldn't trust you with a secret that big quite yet. And again, she knew the secret herself, and if that was the biggest problem in their relationship, then she should have spoke up on it, but she didn't. She instead chose to put the entirety of the blame on Mark, and make herself out to be a victim. Now I'm not saying that Mark couldn't have done some things differently, but he does have to tackle quite a few learning curves, with this being his first time being a hero and his first time being somebody's boyfriend.
The girl was constantly stood up and lied to. So forgive me if I think that being frustrated is a perfectly normal way to react to that. I mean, look, not everybody is emotionally built for being in a relationship with a superhero.
Okay, so now he goes on to talk about how Amber was constantly stood up and lied to. But as I said in my Amber video, this was not done out of malice intent. Mark keeps his secret identity a secret for the sake of himself and those that he cares about. And if Amber herself knew that Mark was a superhero and not a drug dealer or something along those lines, then whether she chooses to stay with him or not, she needs to be understanding of the fact that he is a superhero and certain compromises will have to be made. Now, whether she can put up with these compromises or not depends on her, but she has to be understanding one way or the other. For example, in the Spider-Man comics, Mary Jane would eventually let it be known that she has known for years that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. She simply chose not to say anything out of respect. And while she was frustrated herself, the main basis for her telling Peter that she knows his secret is that she is concerned over the dangers that Peter puts himself in as Spider-Man. Granted, the two weren't exactly dating at the time, but still, you understand that Mary Jane is going through a horde of emotions keeping this secret to herself all this time. And most importantly, she is concerned for Peter's life, something that Amber couldn't care less about when it comes to Mark.
Additionally, the arc of Mark and Amber's relationship is a parallel to the tension between Debbie and Nolan. It's all about trust and how a lack of it in a relationship can completely destroy it. Now that's what I call narrative parallelism.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Excuse me, sir, does your arm hurt after reaching so far? There is no comparison to Mark and Amber's relationship in conjunction with Nolan and Debbie's. In fact, the only thing they got in common is that they're both in interracial relationships, and that is it, that's all. Again, guys, Mark should not trust somebody with his secret identity after being in a relationship that's only been 5 months. I mean, if I'm in a 5-month relationship, I am not gonna trust my girlfriend with my bank account information, so why would Mark trust Amber with his secret identity? And as I've said before, their relationship is not that serious. They're just on some high school level shit right now. Whereas Nolan and Debbie, they're married. It's not puppy love, it's actual love. So there should be no secrets between them whatsoever. But Nolan did keep a secret from her, and his was way more damaging than that of Mark's. But anyway, then we get to the big kicker as to why Comet Drake thinks people don't like Amber in the show. Listen to this bullshit.
With a lot of the conversation I've seen online regarding Amber, the bulk of it seems to be coming less from a place of disliking her character and motivations, and more just because she's a woman and a person of color.
What the hell are you talking about? Who you talking to?
Now y'all heard that, right? He said that the majority of us that have a problem with Amber in the show are racist and sexist. He didn't use those words, but that's basically what he said. Now, just how much of a delusional cunt do you have to be to truly believe that shit? Now, it's bad enough that they tokenized the character to show just how diverse they are, but the main reason why people don't like this character isn't because of her skin color. It's because they took a character from the comics, changed her from white to black, and then proceeded to make this newly established black character into an unreasonable bitch. And given the fact that he was able to make such a bold accusation towards a majority of the people that did not like this character has me believe that he has not seen any of the videos talking about why people do not like this character. He probably at the most just saw the thumbnail and read the title and just ran with it. Oh, and get this, right? He decides he's gonna leave a little disclaimer in his comment section, and it's all just a bunch of SJW bullshit. Like, listen to this. So yeah, I obviously fucked up in part of my explanation. To make things clear, I don't think that most people hate characters inherently because they are people of color, women, or LGBT, but it's no coincidence that most hated characters fall into these categories, and fandoms usually don't hold straight white male characters to the same standards. Typically, straight white male characters are allowed to make more mistakes and have flaws that the fandoms would absolutely not allow female, LGBT, and characters of color to have. And let me just stop right there because this dude is delusional as fuck. So he's saying that straight white male characters get more leniency when it comes to their flaws and mistakes, but that's not exactly true. There are plenty of moments in comics or in fiction in general where straight white male characters have done pretty heinous and unforgivable things. The problem here is that, like I said in my race swapping video, if you're going to race swap a character, you have to work double time to convince me that they are the same character, which you're just adding extra work to yourself right there. But then, when this newly tokenized character is written terribly, then the race swap is going to stand out that much more. Now, Amber would still have these same problems if she was white, but it wouldn't be a matter of race because that is who she is. But in the show, they've tokenized her to be the ethnicity that she's not. And again, by writing her this bad, you created more problems that didn't need to be there. And if comic book Amber was black and show Amber was white, you would have the exact same problem. And instead of talking about the root of the problem, he's just making up additional problems that do not exist. But hey, you say what you have to when you're making that YouTube money, right?
I had a mid-roll before this, right? So even the people that are leaving are still gonna end up paying me by watching those ads? Okay, cool.
I'm not gonna bother reading the other stuff because the rest of this is really just him trying to cover up his own ass. But he should know that he is on the internet now, so anything that he says can and will be used against him, even if it is factual information. And if he really thought he should have said something better, then he should have made a follow-up video stating just that he fucked up and he needs to clarify. Now, I'm not saying that would have exonerated him completely, but it would have been better than this measly little paragraph in his comment section, trying to be an SJW victim. But moving on, we're gonna cover the rest of his video where he talks about Debbie as well, because apparently there's some sort of controversy around her. I mean, there's secretly not, but I don't think anybody's told him that.
It's pretty fucked up that the takeaway for a large portion of the new fandom is to just call Debbie a pet whenever she comes up in conversation. Like, Jesus Christ, when the Invincible social media accounts posted photos of her for Mother's Day, the comments were flooded with dozens of dudes, and let me make that clear, it was pretty much only dudes, spouting the same unoriginal, "Oh, you mean Pet Day, right?" It's like Full Metal Alchemist fans. They only have one joke, and they will take every opportunity to post Nina Tucker in any situation.
So now he's bitching about how people took the pet comment from Nolan and are just making complete fun out of it, especially on Twitter. And the thing is, it's like Drake doesn't realize that he's on the internet, that he doesn't realize that Twitter is one of the worst things to ever happen to the internet. Like, Twitter is literally a kangaroo court. Anything goes. Like, he's talking about how disgusting the fandom is when it comes to Debbie with the pet comment and fan art and stuff like that, but a lot of his rhetoric seems to be coming from what he's heard and seen on Twitter. But bro, it's fucking Twitter. What did you expect? He also goes on to mention some of the relatable things that happen or are going to happen later on in Invincible, such as being in an abusive relationship or being sexually assaulted and things like that, and talk about how the community is going to have a field day when it comes to those issues, which he's not wrong. Some people most likely will. However, you're dealing with fictional characters in a fictional world. So for example, when the Joker is giving some of his dark humor in a Batman comic, the people on the outside looking in, that being the reader, might probably laugh at that, even though in a realistic situation it's not funny. And yes, sometimes works of fiction do have moments that will hit pretty close to home for some people. And if somebody is making a joke out of that moment, somebody that hasn't experienced that moment for themselves, and you don't like that, then in that case you should probably get off that site for a while, or at least that part of the site where they are making a joke in poor taste. Also, there's this option called blocking people, Drake. You don't have to take it up the ass, you're just choosing to bend over. Now I know he's probably never gonna see this video because the dude is way bigger than I can hope to be, but on the off chance that you do end up seeing this comment, Drake, please do me a favor. Go outside. You don't have to touch grass if you're not into that, but form some genuine connections with people. Then maybe, just maybe, you'll understand why people have a problem with the Amber character and why there is no controversy surrounding the Debbie character. If you want to have a more nuanced discussion about Invincible, that's fine, but don't go acting like this is your first time on the internet, bro. You knew what you signed up for when you decided you were going to become a YouTuber. But anyway, that's pretty much all I had to say on it, because Comic Drake's take on this controversy is so fucking stupid. I couldn't let this slide. Seriously though, he reminds me of one of those dudes that will go to the club and genuinely believes that the stripper is in love with him. Sorry my friend, but the same things that Cinnamon has been doing with you, she's also been doing with other guys, girls, and probably even turtles. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree with Comic Drake? Did he finally make sense out of all this for you guys? Or is he talking out of both ends of his ass? Cause I'm a new YouTuber, so maybe I just don't know. As always, support your emperor by leaving a like and hitting subscribe. Also follow me on my social media platforms. You wouldn't want to commit treason now, would you?